What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? What's up? What's up? It's your boy JB back at it again with another episode of the African Fighters podcast. First of all, apologies for the slight delay. I was waiting for King Dems here to finish cooking
Oh,
in his house.
yeah, okay.
He was cooking, so I have to throw you under the I have to throw you under the bus ASAP ASAP.
Uh, I
So
hope them is not watching. You see, my
le-
brother. Why are you
yes.
cooking?
Wait, I am Jabril. That is King Dems Demola of the King Dems podcast. Demola is the president of Israel Adesanya fan club. Demola is currently in London, England. Shout out to King Dems for joining me again. And if you're watching
Oh,
us, thank you. Don't forget to hit that like button. Please do that. Our last episode we had an ample amount of likes on our video, so I think I would have to start telling you guys to give us to tap on those likes. Yes, we are the African Fighters podcast. What we do is we talk about African fighters, as it says, around combat sports in respect of your discipline. Today we're even going to talk about Muay Thai, but this might be news to them. But I have a segment this week which is quite exciting. We're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about Reug Reug performing in kickboxing last night or 2 nights ago. We're going to talk about Anthony Joshua. We're going to talk about Israel Adesanya. We're going to talk about African fighters out of the UFC and a couple more. Shout out to Christopher Graham. Please join our Patreon. Pledge any amount, support the show. Thank you very much. We would really appreciate it. But before we start, I need to bring Bruce Buffer to join us. Bruce Buffer, how you
I,
doing?
It's time!
Did that work? I'm not sure. I didn't hear the audio from my
I
side.
heard it. I heard it.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce Buffer. We really appreciate it. Today on this show, we have a brand new segment called the African Fighter of the Week. Every week, we're going to talk about one African fighter who did amazing work. And this week is a surprise. It's someone we've never mentioned before on the show, and he did an amazing job. And we'll get to that. So stick with us. At some point in the show today, we are going to announce the African Fighter of the Week. We have graphics and everything ready, guys. We are really prepared for this, and it's going to
Yes.
stay.
Guess what, Jibril? Somebody just
Yeah.
messaged me on WhatsApp saying, how far? African fighters. So I've just texted them the link to the show. Like, people have really missed us, with the break we had previously.
Yeah, some people are concerned. Because of how late we are today. We are about 30 minutes late today, and they are worried, like, what's up with these guys? Are these guys going to be here today? But without any further ado, let's jump straight into it. Question from Patreon from Christopher Graham. Which African fights this month are you excited about? So, if you don't know, on our Instagram page, that is at the African Fighters on Instagram, across social media, we put out a list of African fighters fighting every month. At the beginning of every month, we list out the African fights that you should expect, so you can mark your calendars as you will. This month of July, there isn't too many big fights, but there is quite a lot of representation across the board, from the southern to the northern part of Africa, east and west, and everything. And I did ask them to check and tell us whom his favorite fight would be this month of July. And I think I'm going to go first, just because I want to take away that fight away from you, the one that you'd want to talk about. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a fan of the star boy. That is Manel Cap.
Why did you do
Man,
that?
Manel Cap is going to fight at the UFC Fight Night Friday, 27th of July. That's towards the end of this month. And he's going to be fighting Mohammed Mokaev. That is going to be a huge one. Mokaev has started turning into a bit of a fan favorite in a way. And Manel Cap has been struggling with cancelled fights recently. I believe in the UFC, Manel Cap likely has the most cancelled fights of the entire roster, because he's had fights cancelled on the day of the event twice, not just one. So that's how much bad luck Manel Cap has been having. Manel Cap has been also having issues with weight cut, where I would say he has missed a couple of weights in a couple of fights so far in his career. So that is starting to become a trend. Um, Initially, me and you were discussing about Manuel Cap, and one of the things we talked about was why is Manuel Cap not getting that title shot at the flyweight? And
Even
I
the
told you,
304, even sorry,
yeah,
305, right? Yeah, he's got
mhm,
bad blood with Kai Kara France. I was expecting, the UFC to put that fight. That's the fight that even made
yeah,
sense. Even Kai Kara France himself said it, like he was expecting the fight with Manuel Cap. I don't know, like it's a crazy situation with him.
yeah. To answer Christopher Graham, the fight I'm looking forward to is Manuel Cap versus Mokaev. I really, really want to see Manuel Cap take that victory and focus on a title shot. How about you? Which fight are you excited to see in the month of July, brother?
Okay, interestingly, right? So that was my first choice, but then you are leaving me to go for my second choice. My second choice is Andalusia versus Gabriel Bonfim. I think that fight is going to be fireworks because Gabriel Bonfim, the Bonfim brothers, right? They are on an upward trajectory in the UFC. They came in with a lot of hype, right? And I want to see if Angelusa is able to to
Mm,
derail that hype train, right? And Angelusa has
mm,
got a lot of power, right? But the Bonfim guy is a very technical fighter. His striking is good. His jiu-jitsu is, excellent. It's going to be fireworks. I'm looking forward to that one. But the thing is, if Angelusa catches you, uh, the loser can make you be a snoozer. So let's see how that goes.
Kingdoms, when did you start doing poetry? Or when did you start feeling like a rapper? He says, if Angelusa catches you, you are going to have a snoozer. And then subsequently you become the loser, innit?
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
it's
so Ange
I'm
Lusa is going to
excited.
be fighting Gabriel Bonfim Friday, 11th of July, UFC Fight Night. That is. I'm going to give another shout. It's not like I want us to stick with the UFC with regards to the fights coming in July, but there is one. All right, as you know, I am married to a particular Ghanaian person, very a big group of stubborn people. So on that same
Round the
fight
love.
card, on that same fight card, Angelusa is fighting Bonfim. Abdul Razak Al Hassan is going to be fighting Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage is quite a popular name for the casuals, and Abdul Razak Al Hassan as well has been has been in and out of popularity with the fans, with his performances being a bit rocky. He came into the UFC as a devastating striker with crazy knockout power. He's got incredible legs. Not that that has anything to do with anything, but he's got some crazy big ass legs. Every time I see him fight, I just look at his legs. Um, Again, uh, Abdulrazak Al Hassan also going to be fighting on the same card with Angelusa on 11th of July against Cody Brundage. I am looking forward to that one. And another
Mind
big
you, but
shout
Brunson
this
is a thick
July.
guy. He's a thick guy as well. He's a thick guy as well. So
Um,
it's a battle of the thick guys.
I,
But then before you take it away from me, shout out to Ego Cabeza, the
yeah.
EFC. So I want to see that fight as well, with Mulenga.
So Igor Cabeza, double champ, both featherweight, flyweight, is it? No, lightweight
Featherweight.
and bantamweight champion in the EFC. So EFC 115 also happening on 11th of July, if I'm correct. So it's Igor Cabeza at the main event defending one of his titles against Humphrey Molenga.
Mulenga.
I think Humphrey is one of those boys that Temba Gorimbo kind of like would I say train, or he's sort of like, yeah, their big brother.
Your
um
mentor.
yeah, sort of like mentor. So there's a bit of hype around that kid. uh Seems to be an exciting one at this point. Igu Kabisa, every time he fights, he's always expected to win, so that is something you guys should look out for. 11th of July is going to be a big day for African fighters because there's going to be fighting across the board. Yeah, let's move on. Now let's talk about the clickbait. Not really a clickbait. What's on our thumbnail and what's the title of this podcast?
James.
So, Reug Reug Umar Khan Reug Reug, who is a loot Senegalese wrestler, is a big, hefty man. And you know the kind of fights I like watching. Demola. Demola, what type of fights do I like watching? Can you tell these people or remind these people?
Big, meaty, sweaty man.
I love to watch big, sweaty men hit each other. I'm a big fan of the heavyweights. And you guys can read that as however you want to read it. I
Like
love to see.
it comes off all shades of wrong, man.
Well, my concern is whenever I become so popular and I become like a very big figure, somebody is going to come and clip these few seconds and
I'm
post
telling
it and say, why are you gay?
you, you are gay.
So
That
yeah,
image is
so
always hilarious to me
yeah.
every time.
Anyways, Umar Khan Rogrog, very big heavyweight from Senegal. He's going to be fighting Antolin Malykhin.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and that is going to be on the One Championship fight card in ATL Atlanta at the State Farm Arena. That would be on. Well, I don't have the date here, but that's going to be in a couple of weeks, anyways. But however, something happened last week. I believe last week Monday, we just saw a weigh-ins. We just saw news that Umar Rogrog is going to be fighting a fellow Senegalese wrestler in Boucher Ketchup. And Boucher Ketchup is also a wrestler, just as Reug Reug is. But here's the thing: Umar Khan has already been slated to fight for the heavyweight title, one championship heavyweight title against Antolin. But he's going to be fighting just in a week in kickboxing. Get it? Reug Reug, a Senegalese wrestler, big Senegalese wrestler, versus Bosha Ketchup, another big Senegalese wrestler, very popular in their field of lutte Senegalese in Senegal. However, striking is not something that is in their forte. And as you know, One Championship is a promotion that put all styles of martial art under one card, and they had a fight night a couple of days ago, actually last night, if I'm correct. And Rogue Rogue and Bosha Ketchup had a kickboxing fight. Now, that kickboxing fight has been going, if you check our page on Instagram, we posted videos of that fight. And to be honest, I'm trying to find words to use to describe what we saw in that fight.
I did see the
I'm trying
highlights, and I'm like,
as you
this is
know,
like a
as you know,
fake, it's a fake kickboxing fight.
bro. As you know,
Bro,
I'm a very respectable person. I like to be respectful when I address fighters because I don't have the guts to get in there and hit somebody and be hit. But
definitely.
still, One Championship decided to put this fight together because it's going to be like one of those big draws. People, every time behemoths of men like that hit each other, people want to see, right? That's why I'm a big fan of heavyweights. And then when you put two Senegalese wrestlers in there and ask them to do kickboxing, now you know that that's the recipe of disaster. People will laugh at your promotion because the striking of those guys is not in that level. Now I know that in the martial arts that they have in One Championship, they don't have pure wrestling, amateur wrestling. I'm sure if they had one, they'll probably be like, okay, you guys do wrestling. But anyways, the fight ended with Rogue Rogue having a knockout in the most bizarre way. It was a punch, and then Boucher just flew on the ground. You could even say that he dived because it was a bit dramatic. But let me throw it to you. I've been talking too much. King Dems, what was your thoughts when you saw the videos coming from that kickboxing fight between Rogue Rogue and Ketchup?
Okay, so I did see. I think I follow Rogue Rogue on Instagram, and I don't know if it was on Rogue Rogue's page or your page. I think I saw it like 3 times. I saw the highlights, and I was like, it was until you told me that it was a kickboxing fight that I realized that, oh, what's happening? To be honest,
Yeah.
I never knew it was kickboxing, so I thought it was MMA. I was like, what kind of thing is this? And then when you told me it was kickboxing, I was like, is that fake kickboxing? Like, because I just can't imagine, I can't wrap my head around, Rogue Rogue and Ketchup, fighting, kickboxing. It's questionable. It's not the high level kickboxing that you would expect, but I think they did, put up quite a show for wrestlers. If you
Yeah,
them based on elite kickboxing, it's probably somewhat like a shit show. But for the wrestlers doing kickboxing, yeah, I think they did give a good account of themselves. That's my honest
I beg to differ. There was no good account in there. Immediately in the first round, immediately the bell rang. Ging, 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 ging. That ketchup guy ran and shoot for a takedown or he shoot for a clinch. They had to step in there like there's no clinching in kickboxing.
I am telling you.
and then and then he was fighting like a schoolgirl. You know,
Like, it was funny, right? It was
yeah.
until you told
For audio listeners,
me
I'm doing my hands like a schoolgirl. Go go ahead.
how does a schoolgirl do her hands, right? Until you told me it was a kickboxing fight. To be honest, I never knew it was a kickboxing fight. I just saw it and I'm like, oh yeah, Alhamdulillah, he's won. Okay, that's good, very good. Because against Anatoly, I honestly, because I'm African, that's the only reason why I'm supporting Reug Reug. But stylistically, I think it's a nightmarish, matchup for Reug Reug.
Yeah, well, I think we've got Senegalese here. That's interesting. I could tell from the name. We've got
Oh,
Alioune
tall.
Tall. He said, "Hello, I think it was an exhibition fight, not a real
Oh,
fight." Well,
okay.
exhibition or not, for the promotion, it really didn't look good, to be honest. But something I would say is I saw that Rogue Rogue in that fight had a bit of patience in there. That means that he's starting to understand striking a bit. Um, the first couple of MMA fights Rogue Rogue had, he was swinging for the fences every time, and with
And
now,
it was
most
always
especially,
hyperextended.
y-
It's always
yeah,
hyperextended, like swinging the
y-
whole thing,
yeah,
everything.
yeah. So like, but after watching that kickboxing fight, you saw that he was a bit patient. He was trying to do the conventional striking with jabs. He threw a overhead leg kick a couple of times. Like, well, that's good, but it was very, very slow. And if he has, I know heavyweights are relatively not always fast because of their body size, but if he would fight a smaller in Malykhin, Antolin, if he fights a smaller fighter like that, who is much quicker and understand the angles in striking, he might get touched a couple of times. So now I think this is a good way for us to segue into that fight. Antolin versus Rogue Rogue that is going to happen in Atlanta, America. What are your thoughts about this fight? Before you do, sorry, let me quote Antolin because Antolin did an interview and he spoke about Rogue Rogue. And I quote, this is Antolin talking.
He was talking about the
Antolin
boot
said,
strength.
yeah, Antolin said, the only thing Rogue Rogue really has going up for him is strength.
Exactly.
Yeah, the guy is strong and his balance isn't bad, but that's just about it. He is slow, can't time punches for the life of him. His cardio sucks. 3 rounds and he's gassed. This is a 5 rounder because it's a championship fight. He usually falls apart after the first anyway. Hands dropped, starts grabbing at opponents' shorts or gloves. Kind of a dirty fighter. Really no real threat though. Um Now here's the thing. That strength and balance that Antolin is talking about, if Rogro gets a hold of him and he puts him down and he sits on him,
He will feel it.
I feel like this gas tank that Antolin thinks he has, I think it's going to get tested as well. It's going to be big men that are all tired. Because like when Rogue fought that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legend, that Brazilian guy, that Rogue won his last fight to get this title shot. Both of them were gassed, even though the person he was fighting has been grappling for his whole life. You understand? And that talks about the pressure that Rogue Rogue will put on you, most especially if he gets a takedown. Well, he was getting a takedown against a BJJ guy, which is a bit dangerous. But like, I don't see Antolin like submitting him. So Rogue Rogue is one of the, he's very strong enough to have takedown defense like Derek Lewis. You know Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis did once upon a time said, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is a lie. Just stand up." And there's a compilation video of Derek Lewis once he's on, if he's been taken down, he's on the bottom. He just gets up. He just gets up. He just like, okay, that's it. He gets up. Anyways, um, I know Anatoly is I think he's from Russia, or is he Ukraine? And those Eastern Europeans are very notorious for wrestling. This is going to be very interesting, right? Because Antolin is a three division champion. That means that he can go two weight classes below. He's that small and he's that quick. And I feel like if when standing, he's going to be a problem for Rogue Rogue. Um, but I guess we have to see how this one plays out. But what are your thoughts? What do you think? What do you think is going to happen specifically with Rogue Rogue and Anthony? It's a very dangerous fight. But go
uh,
ahead, please.
I think Antolin has I don't know why I call him Anatoly. Maybe because like I'm used to that Russian name. I feel he has more pathways to victory in this fight than Reug Reug, right? So he's a more
Mm.
technical fighter, right? So his striking is more polished, his grappling is more polished, right? Even his wrestling as well, more polished. So
Oh,
he's
you are not wrong. His name is Anatoly, not Antolin. I'm the one that is just pushing it.
okay, okay, okay. Because I know it was Anatoly, right? And then I know I have
Yeah.
like a Russian friend that bears that name as well. So I sort of
Mhm.
put them together. So
Mhm.
Anatoly, I think he has more pathways to victory, and his wrestling is more of the Greco-Roman style than the Senegalese lutte wrestling. And I think the Greco-Roman style of wrestling is more suitable for MMA than the lutte Senegalese wrestling because they are not involved in chain wrestling, right? You know, once you hit the ground, you know, the match is over in Senegalese wrestling. So, uh, he has, you know, more pathways to victory. However, for Rogue Rogue, Rogue Rogue has the brute strength going on for him, and if he catches you, it could be night night. So in the heavyweight division, there's a lot of randomness in terms of your pathways to victory. No matter how skilled you are, no matter how technical you are at the heavyweight division, it just takes one punch to land, and you know it can be good night. So I think Morogoro has that puncher's chance, right? If he applies pressure early enough, he could take him out in the first round or the second round. However, if that fight goes beyond the second round, I think it's an Anatoly victory. I'm sorry. So both fighters, that's their pathway to victory. Catch him in the first round or second round, Rogue Rogue, and then you can win. Yeah,
Um,
Ali is corroborating what I'm saying. You know, Anatoly is a very good wrestler and Greco-Roman style.
I personally, I absolutely love um Rogue Rogue. I was in Nigeria for African Knockout Championship (AKO) last month, and there's this Senegalese MMA fighter called Gasme Diata. He doesn't speak too much English, but we were just talking about, and there was like a French translator there. We were talking about uh Lutte Senegalese and MMA in Senegal because I was curious to know. I was asking him, I was saying, Diata, do you think that if we come do an MMA event in the Dakar Arena, will we sell it out? He's like, no, brother, it's not gonna happen because, but he did emphasize the how large Lutte Senegalese is and the amount of money that is being pumped in there. He talked about the top heavyweights in Lutte Senegalese and the money they get paid to wrestle. It's crazy. He said that Rogue Rogue is not even one of the top stars there. Say
Hmm.
Rogue Rogue is just a boy. I was like, damn. They get paid. They get paid hundreds of thousands per fight. And as you
In
know,
dollars,
once I
hundreds
take,
of thousands of
yes,
dollars.
yeah, in dollars, yeah. And once a takedown happens, that's it. So you could get paid $100,000 just to get just to last for like 1 minute in a fight if you take down or be taken down. So
Okay.
it's a sport that I don't totally understand. I would really, really love to have someone that speaks English and understands Lut Senegalese properly because I have so many questions. I think that would be a good discussion for English speakers for us to get knowledgeable about the sports. So
Speaking of
if
that,
you're watching
there's a
this,
documentary on Netflix. Yeah,
mm,
that
yeah,
covers really
but
this.
but if you are watching this now, because I'm sure we have Reug Reug on our thumbnail, some Senegalese will be in here. If you're watching this and you speak English and you would want to have a chat with us, please shoot us a DM on Instagram and then we'll make it happen. So we'll have a discussion and put it out there. Talk about the landscape of Lutte Senegalais. All right. Moving on. This is a question that I am not very prepared for. I'm just going to freestyle through it. Question from Christopher Graham. Shout out to Christopher Graham. He says, who is the best African prospect in each division outside of the UFC? Now, I
Mm.
think what we are going to do to save time is we do division by division, and then you take a division, I take a division, you take a division, I take a division. Okay.
Okay, that would be
So
good.
let's start with the heavyweights. Do you know of any heavyweights, African heavyweights outside of UFC that you think would make an impact?
So I think between Reug Reug and the EFC champion Matunga Jikasa. Yeah, I
Mm.
think it's between the two of them.
Yeah, well, I think like with drawing power, like someone that could actually draw like people to come and see. I think
That's Reug Reug. That is Reug Reug for now.
yeah, absolutely, it's Rogue Rogue. But now people are accustomed to seeing genetic freaks like Francis Ngannou with that crazy knockout power. So when you see a non-African and you ask them what their picture of like an African heavyweight is, they think about Francis Ngannou. And they hear the stories of Francis Ngannou working in a sand mine, and there's so many Francis Ngannou's walking the streets in Africa. So
There's
they think they think that
so
if you are
many
going
of
to get
them.
an African heavyweight, it's going to be like an army of Francis Ngannou. But I think Rogue Rogue is a good shout. But the thing is, with Rogue Rogue, he has started to leave um when as a fighter, like for example Chimaev, when Chimaev got into the UFC, there isn't enough tape about him for people to study what his weaknesses are. You
Mhm.
understand? Until he met a Gilbert Burns, and then people started saying, okay, so Chimaev can be vulnerable here. Or when he met Kamaru Usman, and people were like, questioning his gas tank. So,
If only there was a fourth
s-
round.
so now, yeah, so Rogue Rogue now, it's starting to look like he's starting to have that catalog now. People can study him because he's got a couple of MMA fights now, and now he's even having a kickboxing fight. So if he goes to the UFC, I feel like the UFC people or the fighters that he's going to fight, the talent there would have enough to to dilute whatever he came with. If you remember, Jairzinho Rosenstruck from Suriname,
Biggie
when
boy.
he made his yeah Biggie Boy, when he made his debut in the UFC heavyweights, right? He was like a feared kickboxer. Was it kickboxing or taekwondo? One of those striking fights, striking martial arts. He was like renowned, like world standard. And then what happened? He came, started putting people away, and then he thought to call out Francis Ngannou. Since Francis Ngannou put him to sleep, Jorginho has been like, he's got a couple of wins, but he's got
Has been
also a
up and
couple of
down.
defeats. He goes up and then he goes down. So like again, that's when people start figuring you out, and then when they start tape study. So I feel, but that's not the question. But I think Rogue Rogue would be very very interesting in the UFC. I would absolutely love to see him there as a heavyweight. All right, so I'm going to go next to another division, which is the light heavyweight. Right, in the light heavyweight, again, I did not do research, so I might be forgetting people. But the person that comes to my mind, there is a Nigerian kickboxer called Richard Muzan. He fights for Kamaru Usman's MMA promotion in Nigeria. That kid started fighting for Usman when he was like, what, 20 years old? And you could see the growth in him, the confidence he's been building so far. When he started, he was a big gun shy. He wasn't really when he was in there, he wasn't very comfortable. But now that he has gotten comfortable in his last three fights, he's all had finishes. He's very long, very long and powerful. He's got very good striking. His front kick alone creates a lot of distance for him. So the only thing that he hasn't been tested with is his ground game. And as you know, Nigerians fighters in Nigeria don't really have good ground game. That's another whole different topic.
Yeah, we
We
don't have
don't
that
really
kind of
invest in
culture.
jiu-jitsu in Nigeria. So I think Richard Muzan, he's very coachable. I think when he goes to a good gym that have like world of experience in there, and they put some grappling for him in there and put some wrestling with him, he has all the tools, all the attributes to make it in the big leagues. He is a more aggressive Kennedy in Zichuku. He's like as long as Kennedy, but
Mm,
like he's well built. You understand? So I
mm.
think Richard Muzan is gonna do fantastic. Now let's move to middleweight. Which middleweight do you have in mind?
Middleweight. I think I'll just go to the EFC. Luke Michael is decent. It's decent.
I have
Then
one. I have
oh,
one middleweight. He's from Congo. His name is Flex Munwe. Flex also fights in AKO, Kamaru Usman's promotion, and the team he fights out of. Those guys are very good. He's in the same gym as Musasa, Mulumba. They train under a guy called Yadad. They also have an MMA promotion in Lumumbashi in Congo, and those guys are very complete. And one of their guys in their gym actually got signed by the UFC to do the Dana White Contender Series this year. That's how much quality they have in there. And this guy that fights in middleweight is Flex Munwe. Flex Munwe is a very big middleweight in Africa. So if you are not familiar with uh with the combat world in Africa, African fighters don't really like to cut weight. They are not really in tune with the weight cut culture like the rest of the world is. Because most African fighters, I'm talking about West Africa, I'm not talking about South Africa, I don't know what happens down there. But most West African fighters, they fight in the weight that they walk around with. Even if they cut weight, maybe it's just a little bit. But
so just for them.
they yeah. So but Flex Moonway, I'm gonna bring it back to Flex Moonway, this middleweight I'm talking about from Congo. He is a big middleweight among these guys because he invests his time in weight cut. Whenever he fights, you will see that he's bigger than his opponent and his grappling is very good. Is next level because every time he grapples, he will end up on mount. The only mount position, the only issue he has is finishing it from the top. You understand? He gets mount and then he starts pounding, but he never really gets that finish. But then how he gets there is seamless. He dominates, controls, and like Habib says, drag you to the deep waters or smash you. He smashes.
Smash.
So Flex Moonway, in my opinion, is someone to look out for.
Hmm,
All right,
interesting.
let's move on to which division is it? Welterweight. I really
The
don't have a
middle.
shout for welterweight. Do you have
Okay,
anybody in
no.
mind for welterweight?
No brainer, Malykhin, and I think he's already on his way into the UFC because he's currently in the what do you call this, TUF, right? The top.
The ultimate fighter.
Yeah,
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 so
the ultimate
we're talking
fighter.
about Mark Home from South Africa. Mark Home that I'm talking about is teammates with um Dracos Duplessis. They fight out of CIT, and I believe Dricos and his people have been trying to get him to get signed in the UFC. They got him to fight in Dana White's Looking for a Fight TV show. That didn't work well for him to get signed, but they still got him to be in the Ultimate Fighter. Ultimate Fighter that nobody watches anymore except you because you are a, you are a psychopath.
Ah, why would you?
Uh, this is this is this is me asking you now.
Why
How
would
is
you do that
Malcolm's
to him?
performance so far in the Dana White in the Ultimate Fighter?
He is not 40 yet.
Okay,
So
okay.
he's not 40 yet. I guess maybe next week. Yeah, maybe the next episode. But he's not 40 yet.
All right, all right, all right. Continue watching for us and let us keep us updated because we are not gonna go watch that shit. Um, next let's go to what the lightweight division.
The lightweight division. So who would you say in the lightweight division?
Well, we could give it to Igu Kabisa. Like Igu Kabisa, if you do pound for
He's
pound,
a
who should be in the
two,
UFC? It's Igu.
yeah,
It's Igu Kabisa.
he's a two division champion.
Yeah, so let's just say Igu Kabisa, both bantamweight
like
and lightweight.
like no lightweight
Abi
champion.
is he featherweight?
Yeah,
Is he? He's a
lightweight.
featherweight fighter, right?
Yeah, he's
Lightweight and
featherweight.
featherweight.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes. He's a featherweight.
yeah. So I'm giving it to Igu Kabisa. Um,
Then the
there's
next
also another shout for Ananias Mulumba, incredible talent from Congo. Bro, those Congolese. You know, Igu Kabisa is Congolese as well.
Oh, I see. They are so strong. Like I don't understand if there's something in the water in Congo.
Bro, those Congolese, eh? Yeah, yeah, really, really good. We've got Musasa. Musasa is the name of the guy that just got signed by the UFC. I believe he's a featherweight as well. In the live chat, we've got some Senegalese talking to each other. Fantastic to see. Um, all right, let's move on. All right, I think this is the time in the show that we are going to announce who the African fighter of the week is. Ladies and gentlemen, in our new segment called the African fighter of the week, what we do here is oops. What we do in this segment is uh Dot Greatness got a question about Francis Ngannou coming back to boxing. We'll get to that in a bit. Let me just do this segment real quick. All right. So every week we are going to look through the African fighters that have participated, and then we would hand out an award, not really an award, but the honors to give you
Spotlight.
guys who, in our opinion, is the African fighter of the week. And this week, ladies and gentlemen, in this special segment, we even have graphics for you guys because we are getting fancy. All right, we would announce after this graphic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the African fighter of the week today, 7th of July 2024, is none other than Bampara Kuyate. Ladies and gentlemen, Bampara Kuyate is from Mali. He is a Muay Thai fighter. He was in a war last night in the fight night where he went against Luke Lessie, Luke the Chef Lessie. It was a very, very exciting fight to see in Muay Thai. By the way, it's in Muay Thai, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm talking about Bampara. Bampara suffered a knockdown. And I'm going to show you guys a clip now. So this is Bampara getting smoked. And he's going to suffer a knockdown here.
Massive comeback.
And then he's going to come back and score a knockout just seconds left. Look at that short uppercut. Look at that uppercut. What a beautiful thing to see. What a beautiful thing to see. And the ref had to call out the fight. Who knew Muay Thai could be this exciting? And ladies and gentlemen, our African fighter of the week, Bampara Bambi Ferelek Kuyate. All right.
There you
This
go.
is going to be a new segment for us that we would constantly do every week. Expect more. Um, it was a bit difficult for us to pick a fighter this week, but yeah, that's it. Your African
It's
fighter of
well
the week is
deserving.
Bampara Kuyate from Mali. All right. That graphics was too nice. I had to play it twice. You see what I did there?
Porn on words. Yeah, I see that. I see you.
All right,
Your
all right,
poetry
all right.
skills
Um,
improving.
moving on. I've got some takeaways here. Maybe something you want to discuss. We could talk about what Dot Greatness was talking about. Will Francis Ngannou come back as a pro boxer or PFL MMA?
Yeah, quick shout out, right? I think we did not touch the bantamweight division. So I think quick shout out to Nkosi Ndebele. I think that guy is the best, African bantamweight outside of the UFC right now.
Oh yeah, Nkosi Ndebele, the current bantamweight champion for Brave CF. You could say he is the face of Brave CF at the moment. Yeah, big shout out to
The
him. And there's also another guy, Nicolas Huende, that is fighting there also in bantamweight division. Nicolas Huende from Zimbabwe. That's someone to look out for as well.
Zimbabwe.
Um,
Oh,
let's talk
bro.
about this Francis Ngannou bit now, right? Francis Ngannou coming back to boxing. Is that something that would happen, or would he go back to PFL MMA? In my opinion, after suffering a knockout like that, it only makes sense for him to come back to boxing. Um, Francis well, to make the money, Anthony Joshua is going to fight Daniel Dubois in September in Wembley here in London. And oh, surprise, surprise, me and King Dems are going to be at the show. We are going to apply for media
Bro,
passes. If we get in as a media, it's fine. If we don't, we already have tickets. So we would be
you're
there either
covered.
way.
You're covered.
Yeah, so there were rumors that Francis Ngannou was supposed to be in the undercard of that fight, but it ended up not being. We know Francis Ngannou has not had a great year so far. He suffered a devastating knockout, and then he suffered the loss of his son, which I don't. It's difficult for any human being to come back from such adversities. Um, I think with his position now and his age, he's getting close to 40. I think he should just stick to boxing and fight some up and comer or do one of the celebrity boxing stuff. And just something interesting, right? Because who is not interested in seeing Francis Ngannou versus Bronze Bomber, right? Who is Bronze Bomber? What is his
That's,
name?
Deontay
Deontay
Wilder.
Wilder.
It's gonna
Deontay
be
Wilder,
massive. Yeah, and they have
yeah,
some
Deontay
details
Wilder
on it.
is a knockout artist. Everybody knows, but he has been suffering losses back to back to back recently. So people are saying that Deontay Wilder is not that guy, and Francis Ngannou coming from a knockout. So this is going to be the battle of the biggest or the most powerful strike. Francis Ngannou
Losers
versus
final.
Deontay Wilder. Wouldn't that be interesting? Um, but I think the money for him should be in boxing. There isn't when training boxing and fighting in boxing, there is no wear and tear as much as MMA. Because think about it, that long Brazilian MMA fighter they have in PFL, that heavyweight, his
That
name is
Ferreira
Pereira
guy.
too. That
Ferreira.
Ferreira too.
That
Ferreira,
guy
that
is a
one.
deadly beast.
That one, if he catch Ngannou, it's not like I'm saying Ngannou is not good, but I don't want to see that. Please,
It's too
Ngannou,
much
just stay in
risk
boxing.
with too little reward.
Yeah, yeah,
I've been
that.
saying this thing since last year. Like it is,
Mhm.
high risk, low reward. I don't see him doing that.
Yeah. All right. I just got one more thing talking about boxing, right? This week we saw Anthony Joshua tweeted at Alex Pereira. He said Alex Pereira should be in boxing or should fight boxing or something like that. And Alex Pereira responded to that tweet. Actually, I have the tweets up here, so I'm going to quote them now. So Anthony Joshua said, Alex Pereira should make a boxing debut one day. And Alex Portan Pereira replied with, I'm honored you think so. It's always been my dream. I am 37. I cannot make a career in it. So, who would you recommend I fight?
Shama.
I saw this and Chama. I saw this and I started thinking, this guy is so big he can fight in the heavyweight in boxing. And with how lethal his left hook is, he can beat anybody. The only difference is when you watch him in kickboxing, when you watch him in MMA, his stance is for kickboxing because of like he bounce on his toes just like kickboxers do. I don't know how that would translate with pure boxing without kicking. I don't know whether it will affect his stances and his switching and his angles and all that. But with that short hook and the way he was knocking people out with what, how many ounce of gloves there were in kickboxing? The
They kicked
gloves that
him.
were in kickboxing is much more padded than the one they use in heavyweight pro boxing, right? So for him to knock out people with those gloves, imagine what he can do just using the boxing gloves. I think I think Pereira can knock out some heavyweights, some top heavyweights in boxing, to be honest. But maybe it's me giving him too much credit.
Let's
What do
see,
you
but
think?
I think he's probably like a cruiserweight in boxing, not a proper heavyweight. He will need to bulk up to go to heavyweight.
Um, Dot Greatness seems to be a boxing fan. He says AJ will KO Daniel Dubois. Don't worry, Dot Greatness. It's going to happen in the front of our eyes. We are going
Yeah,
to be there.
you're gonna see live.
We are gonna be in Wembley, bro. Um, yeah. All right. I think we've gone through all the combat questions, and there are a few questions here. I don't know if you guys are fans of football, but we were asked for our predictions for the semi-finals of the Euros. As you know, we are in England. Oops, we are in England. As you know, we are in England, and it's coming home, isn't it, Demola?
It's coming home, bro.
So, um, honestly, before I moved to the UK, I have been a massive fan of the English team. I loved Lampard, Scholes, Gerrard, that combination. I used to have an English jersey, an
Days of
England
Rooney.
jersey when I was growing up. Yeah, I actually hated Rooney. I didn't like Rooney, but I loved everybody else. I loved Beckham. I loved Michael Owen when he was coming up.
Yeah, I
You
like
could
the
tell
one.
my age. My age is coming out now. So I've been a big English fan. It's not because I'm here, right? And now all this battle with Southgate, I've been telling my colleagues at work that England, I have a very strong feeling that England, this is the year that they are going to win it. They've been playing shitty, but they are winning. And I'm telling them this is how you win tournaments. You defend well and you win. You win 1-0, 1-0, 1-2-1, 1-0, you reach the final. So I actually
Like,
believe it's now. But I think they are going to probably beat Netherlands 1-0 and they would face Spain in the final. And they'll play penalties against Spain and they'll win it this time. That's my prediction. What's your prediction?
I think they'll beat Netherlands. It's going to be a tough battle, but I think France will beat Spain.
Hmm.
If France beats Spain and England beats France in the
So
final.
you think we'll see England France in the final?
Yeah, E- English versus French.
So how
Bonjour,
about
bonjour
the
versus good morning.
eh?
Bonjour versus good morning.
Comment ça va versus how are you?
Très bien versus.
Yeah. Uh, all right. So let's quickly talk about predictions for Copa America as well. Copa America semifinals: Argentina versus Canada, Uruguay versus Colombia.
Uh,
Um, I think the
Argentina against
bookmakers are right. I think the bookmakers might be right on this one. But hey, don't sleep on Uruguay, man. Uruguay they defeated Brazil. They took Brazil out with penalties, which was a very very chaotic game. But don't sleep on Uruguay, bro.
Oh, yeah,
They
yeah.
have
So
this
the thing
this
is, I think Uruguay wins their own semifinals. Argentina wins their own semifinal. And we have,
no, say they are still in the semifinal. So it's Argentina versus Canada in one semifinal and Uruguay
yeah,
versus Colombia in another
exactly.
semifinal. So I
That's
think
what I'm saying. Uruguay will beat Colombia and Argentina beats
mhm,
Canada. and they will
And then
get to.
Uruguay will beat Argentina in the final. That's my prediction.
It's 50-50, to be honest. They are evenly
Mm.
matched. Yeah, it's 50-50.
All right, I think that's about it. We've touched everything. I promise to let you go back to your jollof. Um, as you know, King Dems is out there cooking in his house. Thank you for you guys sticking with us today. Hope you enjoyed our conversation. For the first time, we've got Senegalese in here. We've never had Senegalese before in our live chat. So that's
Yeah,
really, really interesting. Thank you guys for stopping by. Really, really appreciate the love. Please hit the like button. We really, really appreciate it. Um, yeah, that's it from me. King Dems, you've got anything?
yeah, it will be really nice. We have to thank them twice. So, peace out.
Oh.
Thank you.
You are learning. You are learning, my brother. All right, me. Okay, I'm not gonna talk about big sweaty men again before people start coming for me. All right, enjoy your weekend, guys. Peace.